In Matthew chapter 7, verses 24 to 28, Jesus tells us to be wise builders. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house. Yet it did not fall, because it had its foundations on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash. These words of mine are the words of Jesus, according to Matthew, starting from chapter 5 to the end of chapter 7. Jesus said many things, but we need to not only listen to what Jesus said, but to put what Jesus said into practice. We have to live out the words of Jesus. In Matthew chapter 5, verse 13, Jesus said, "You are the salt of the earth." We have to understand what Jesus meant by that, and then live as the salt of the earth. In Matthew chapter 5, verse 14, Jesus said, "You are the light of the world." We have to understand what Jesus meant by that, and then live as the light of the world. When we make the words of Jesus come to life in our lives, we are like a wise man who built his house on the rock. We build a house on the rock because a rock provides a foundation that is solid. When we build a house on something that is solid, the house is stable. When it rains, when it floods, when the winds blow, a house built on a solid foundation will not fall. If we build our lives on the words of Jesus, we are building our lives on a foundation that is solid. When we build our lives on the words of Jesus, our lives are stable. When we experience trouble, loss, hardship, difficulty, sadness in our lives, we will not fall. We will not fall because we built our lives on the words of Jesus. We built our lives on a foundation that is like a rock, the words of Jesus. If we do not practice what Jesus has told us, it is like building our lives on sand, a weak foundation. When we experience difficulties in our lives, we will fall. Bring to life the words of Jesus in our lives. Build our lives based on a strong foundation, which is the words of Jesus. When we do, and when we experience difficulties in our lives, we will not fall.